So I decided to make a video just to kind of document my experiences with horticulture. I know that there are a lot of people out there that are for horticulture, and then there are quite a few people out there that don't think that it's the right thing for orchids. Personally, I haven't been doing it that long. I've only been doing it for maybe about a month. But I have struggled for years to keep orchids alive. I just love orchids. They are probably my favorite flower. I have not branched out beyond Phalaenopsis because I'm afraid to. I have killed so many orchids. It's really just because I was inexperienced. I really didn't know much about orchids. I got a lot of information, and I think the reason why, this is my oldest orchid, I think the reason why it's still alive is because Miss Orchid Girl really gave me some great pointers. I watched a lot of her videos. I still was losing this orchid. It was doing okay. Like I said, I've had it almost a year. The lighting's not that great. And it started to grow a new leaf. I couldn't really see what was going on with the roots because it was in bark. And then all of a sudden it just stalled and it wasn't doing anything. The leaf was tiny, you could barely see it. So I started doing research on different methods of growing orchids because it wasn't doing well. And then I saw the videos on horticulture and I thought to myself, well, let me try that. So I unpotted it and was horrified. These are the only two roots left. I can't really get the camera to focus. And they're not pretty. They're not pretty at all. The leaf has started to grow again though, and these leaves were very limp and they have perked up. They're nice and hard. I don't think that this long root is going to make it right there. There's a little break and I think it's starting to rot. But I got some advice from Olivia. She does the full horticulture and the semi-horticulture, and she said to maybe just keep it above the water so that the humidity would help the orchid. So right now I have just the very, very, very tip of the long root in there. I did take it out of the water and it shriveled up immediately. So it is actually drinking. Even though it's not doing well. So I'm just going to leave it in there until I think that it's completely gone, and then maybe I might trim it off. But yeah, so this one, the jury's still out as to whether that's going to make it or not. This one my husband brought home for me as a present just a couple weeks ago. My orchids have only been in horticulture for about 3 weeks. And I got this like maybe a couple days before I decided to go to horticulture. It just dropped its last blooms, so I cut the spikes. I don't know if they're going to reflower. Probably not. I've never gotten an orchid to reflower, but then again, I've never gotten an orchid to live out a year, so I'm not really focusing on that. I did cut them to see if they would reflower, but if the stalks, the spikes start to brown, I'll just cut them all the way back. This one also was pretty bad shape when I took it out of bark. That's the thing about bark that I just don't like. And I don't know if it's just my area where I live or the levels of humidity in my house, but whatever's in the bark dies. Whatever's on the outside of the bark, on the outside of the pot, looks green and healthy, but all the inside, I don't know if you can see, I had to cut all of that away because it was all dead. Yeah. And then there's two roots right there that kind of are green. I had to cut them because the ends of them were starting to rot and I didn't want them to make the water cloudy, so I just cut them back. But yeah, so we're gonna see how that one does. This section of my house gets morning light, so it gets eastern light. It stays pretty bright all day long, so that's where I have two of my orchids. And then I have two more over here. These are my newest orchids. This one has amazing roots. a lot of amazing, I mean, it's even hard to see. That's how many roots this guy has. I was a little concerned when I took it out of bark because it had so many roots. It seemed like maybe it had been kept in that tiny container for too long. So we'll have to see how it goes. But it seems really happy. The roots are really green. I don't have any green growing tips on any of my orchids yet, or any new roots, but like I said, it's only been 3 weeks. But everything's firm and healthy. There's no root rot on any of my new orchids. These 2 new orchids. I did lose some flowers, but it wasn't bud blast. When I got the orchid, a few of the buds, this one, and even this one down here were not in good shape. So I don't know what the poor thing was through before I got it, but those buds did not make it. This one just opened, but there's some damage on this leaf right here. And then this one still looks like it might be okay. By far, the happiest one is this one. Keeps getting buds, keeps getting flowers, as you can see there. It's not completely in bloom yet because it still has a few buds. This one's growing a new bud. So I can't get this camera to cooperate with me. And I can't really find a vase that I love for this one. I feel like this one's too big, but because the roots on the bottom here are circular, I need a bigger vase because they won't fit in a smaller one. But I don't want to break them, so I have to put them in this big one, which I don't really love. I feel like that's the crown right there, and that's the water level. I feel like maybe it's a little bit too close, so I might just drain off some of the water. But that's, I just changed the water, so it's a little foggy in there. But that's basically, so far, what I'm doing with these orchids. They seem to be taking to water culture really well. Time will tell. Like I said, I've tried to grow orchids for years and they have not made it. But in just a few weeks, everything looks happy. So we'll have to, you know, wait and see. Hopefully everything will go well. And I'll just keep updating. I know a lot of people are interested in water culture, but kind of afraid to do it. And my philosophy was, I'm kind of killing these poor things anyways, and I'm determined that I will eventually have nice orchids. So I said to myself, well, let's try. What's the worst case scenario? They die. I've been killing them in bark for years anyways. So I'll update as I can whenever there's something to update.